Mm. This DPP is public prosecution, okay, not the party. Okay. Okay. Ya bueno. Ninguna followers nkhani. Emile. Sorry, Inyosi. Next week, I want to hear something from you. Okay? They are me. Nine. Okay. Story yabo yarimbanda. Shendi make. Okay. Newspaper yanji. Emily. Which newspaper is that? Okay. Is it on the front page, on the back page, in between pages? Okay. Umuzadu uliwa yesiru kwa uzamvera. Front page ya jana. Alimbauliani. The what? The Holy See. Holy City. The Holy See. Who is the Holy City? And Malawi. Okay. That's the intro. Summarize for us. Ngarom Vera. Why the Siondori is Ikazi Jonto? Nkhani yoyamba imene bwezika batsamba loyamba la newspaper yanji. You are now explaining to us, you are summarizing to us. You have read the intro and now you have to do a summary of the story. You will learn. According to the statement, but then this the discussion is but what kind of okay. So can you summarize the story for us? As the omvera ifeyo tokumvesera wairesiyo iwe ndamene kupanga host program ikuti chani story yakuti chani. The story is all about the discussion. Which president? Okay. Okay. But the story is about the discussion between Pope Francis and Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. What about the discussion? The discussion is all about the person. Okay. Where? You're telling us as unveiled, what is going on, eh? Yeah? Now, this is what you are going to be doing. So, is that how best you can do? How best can you do that? You're on the radio, anchoring a program, press review. And then you are reviewing the newspaper for today. Can you do the review for us, please? Okay, dear. There's the first story that Gift has stated on front page of the Nation newspaper, and you? Okay. Mwana we China a new project. Ndijani. Oh. Oh yes, bomuzika lero? No, madam. Igero kisalani. Chichewa ai chizungu okay mfuna yani yabwini. No. Niba ngani lunanga? You are okay. Are you asking me if we were supposed to hear from you? Do you follow when I think Zulu I did? Did you follow? Because if you did, you wouldn't be failing to do what you are supposed to do. You are reviewing a newspaper for today. You have the newspaper. What is the first thing that you do in reviewing the newspaper? And you know the things that you don't want to do. Can you do what you're supposed to do? You have the newspapers, okay? Tell me the stories that you have read already. Okay. Now what are newspapers? Please review the newspapers. Mugani gaso. Tampasa gift. Chamaliza rafiki yako kubaki benchi. Wesa newspapers angani. It simply shows right? You don't fall. Because this is not the first time that you're doing this. Is this the first time? It's not the first time. So it means you don't pay attention. Because if you do, you wouldn't fail to do a preview when you have the newspapers with you. The first story on the front page of the Nation newspaper is carrying the headline, Malawi, China in new projects. Massive infrastructure planned in energy transport, but fears of debt trap abound. This is a story has been written by Suzio Shitede, the staff writer for the Nation newspaper. And the story reads, Malawi is poised to launch a fresh infrastructure bridge targeting economically viable projects in sectors such as energy, transport, and tourism. Nkhani yathu yoyamba pa tsamba loyamba la newspaper ya Nation yalembedwa ndi Suzio Chitete ndipo ili ndi mutu onena kuti Malawi, China in new projects. Malawi ndi dziko la China ali mu mgwirizano opanga zitukuko zina zatsopano. Zitukuko zambiri pali chiyembekezo cha zitukuko zambiri za ntchito zomangamanga, za magetsi komanso za mayendedwe transport. Koma pali chiopsezo chonena kuti ngongole zikhoza kubwezeretsa mbuyo ntchitozi. Malawi yayambanso ubale wina kapena ndi ubale wake ndi dziko la China layamba zitukuko zina za nyowani zimene zayikidwa m'madera a energy, transport komanso tourism, zimene zili za mphamvu za magetsi, mayendedwe komanso zokopa alendo. The projects are coming under the Chinese Bridge and Road Initiative BRI, a framework currently guiding Chinese investment in Africa and beyond Africa, that Malawi signed in 2022. Zitukuko zimenezi zikubwera kudzera mu mgwirizano otchedwa Bridge and Road Initiative imene dziko la Malawi ndi China unasainirana, maiko amene anasainirana mchaka cha 2022. Nkhani ine imene yopezeka pa tsamba loyamba la newspaper ya Nation ndi yokhudza DPP imene Gift wanena kale yolembedwa ndi Nchindi Meki. DPP drops charges against who in a cement case. This has already been reviewed by Gift. We move on to page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Project identifies flaws in local development. Project ina yaulula zakulephera kwina kapena mavuto ena amene ali mu ntchito za chitukuko zimene zikuchitika m'madera osiyanasiyana mu dziko la Malawi. Nkhani imene yalemba ndi Clement Chinoko. The Center for Social Accountability and Transparency, CAST, says overstretching of local funds and lack of project continuity are key factors frustrating development flow in local communities. Bungwe la Center for Social Accountability and Transparency, CAST, yanena kuti kugwiritsa ntchito kwambiri ndalama zimene zimaperekedwa ku mabungwe ku Malawi komanso kusowa kodi kuyima kwa ntchito zomangamanga ndi kumene kukuchititsa kuti zitukuko zimene zikuchitika m'madera osiyanasiyana muno Malawi mwina ziziyima kapena ziziyenda mochedwa. Izi zanenedwa mu ripoti limene bungwe lilatulutsa kusatira pamaliza pa project imene ikuchitika kudowa Machinga komanso ku Mangochi imene yachitika kuchoka mu chaka cha 2022 mu mwezi wa Juni kufika mwezi wa Juni chaka cha 2024 ino. Page 3, North UTM members support USI. This story has been written by Ralph Mvona. Members of the UTM party in the Northern region yesterday met party president and the country's vice president, Michael Usi, and assured him of their support. Mamemba ena achipani cha UTM akumpoto asapota kapena apanga support a Michael Usi. Mamemba aku chigawo cha kumpoto ena a chipani cha UTM dzulo atsimikizira wachuli kwa mtsogoleri wa dziko lino a Michael Usi za support imene ali nayo pa iyeyo. Mamembala awo amene anavala mu makaka a chipani cha UTM, anthu ochuluka pafupifupi 80, amwe ena mwa iwo ndi makansala, akuluakulu aku region komanso aku maboma, madistrict, azimayi owayimirira azimayi amenewa, komanso delegates ena ochokera ku Mzuzu, ku University ya Mzuni ndi achinyamata ena amu mzinda wa Mzuzu a UTM ndi ena mwa anthu amene anali nawo kumeneko. Pali nkhani ina, 75 out of 900 health posts built in 4 years. Nkhani imene yalemedwa ndi George Singini, ikupezeka pa tsamba lachitatu la newspaper la Nation. Malawi has capacity to detect mpox, ministry. Malawi has the capacity, nkhani imene yalemedwa ndi Macmillan Muhone, Ministry of Health has assured that the country has a surveillance system and laboratory capacity to detect and confirm cases of mpox. This story is found on the 3rd page of the Nation newspaper. GPP winners, losers, pledge collaboration. We move on to page 4, and this is a story that has been carried on page 4 of the of the Nation newspaper. It has been written by Jonathan Basungwi. Other stories are continuation of stories from page 3 that are carried in page 4. We move on to the back page of the Nation newspaper. Ascent upbeat. Malawi Reps vow to reach semi-final. A story that has been written by Solomon Manda. So this is a story about Ascent Soccer Academy, who are confident of reaching the Confederation of African Cup CAF Women's Champions League COSAFA qualifier semi-finals when they face Botswana's Gaborone United in a must-win last Group B match today. Another story, Bullets expect hostile second leg. This is a story written by Gary Chirwa on the back page of the Nation newspaper. Zavura bad. Zavura zimenzo? Zavura. You will do this next week. If you don't pay attention, I'm not the one that is learning. You're the one that is learning. And these are the things that will be expected of you to be doing. So please pay attention. We've done this. It's not just today. It's not the first time that we are doing this. Yeah? We concluded Media Council, did we? We concluded Media Council. Lesson focus areas for Media Council, we did, right? Okay. So today we'll finish with the MISA, Malawi. So, and the final body concerned with the broadcasting industry in Malawi, or involved in broadcasting industry in Malawi, is the National Media Institute for Southern Africa, NAMISA Malawi chapter. So in short, we call it MISA Malawi, as in Media Institute for Southern Africa, MISA Malawi. So it's in National Media Institute for Southern Africa, NAMISA, because it is in the Media Institutes of the Southern Africa. So it's found in different areas of, countries of the Southern Africa. And here we have our own chapter. So the National Media Institute for Southern Africa, MISA Malawi chapter, is a non-governmental organization that is dedicated in promoting media freedom, professional journalism, and access to information in Malawi. I talked about the Access to Information Law, or Access to Information Act, which was operationalized, and the Ministry of Information championed the operationalization of the ATI law. There were challenges to see to it that it gets passed in Parliament, stops being a bill, and it's now passed to a law. And once it was passed to a law, little was paid. The little attention was being paid to see to it that it gets actually to be signed for and gazetted, and it starts to be used in the access to information. So as a citizenry, you are to use this role in order to access information from varied departments of government. Hello? So, Mazaba? So, Media Council of Malawi now dedicates much of its time, or one of its obligations is to ensure that it promotes media freedom. Journalists conduct themselves in a more professional manner, or media institutions conduct themselves in a more professional manner, and the access to information law in Malawi is being utilized. People are able to access information. At Rankani now, they are able to access information through the ATI law. So, MISA operates as the Malawi chapter on the larger regional body known as the Media Institute of Southern Africa. This is where we get the name MISA. So, What we have in Malawi is a chapter of this regional body of the Southern Africa. And this body advocates for media rights and freedoms across the South African region, the Southern African region. We have Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Tanzania. So MISA, it's a regional body, and Malawi is a chapter to that regional body. The mandate that MISA has is of advocating for media freedoms or media rights across the Southern Africa. So this is also what MISA Malawi does. Advocates for media freedoms. There should be media freedom. Journalists should operate in a manner that allows them to operate without fear, without control, without interference. And also that journalists and people who are the citizens of Malawi are able to access information from any government department through the access to information law. The key objectives of MISA Malawi, number one, is for advocacy for media freedom. So MISA Malawi is committed to defending and promoting freedom of the press. Where the freedom of the press is being threatened, MISA Malawi comes in to defend that freedom, because the press has to operate in a free, fair environment conducive for the freedoms of the press to thrive, or for their work to thrive. So they come in where there are cases of intimidation amongst journalists, media organizations. MISA comes in to defend and promote freedom of the press. Because after the liberalization of the media landscape in Malawi, it marked an era where we have so many radio stations, the press, we be print, mass media, and the like. It was an era of democracy which guaranteed press freedoms, unlike the one-party era or the pre-colonial era, which had only MBC in control, although the Malawi government press, although the Daily Time, what we call the Blantyre Times, the Daily Times as the daily newspaper then. Now we have several print media institutions, electronic media institutions, freelance journalists. All these are supposed to work in an environment that is conducive for them. So Media Council of Malawi, MISA Malawi comes in to defend or to advocate and promote the freedom of the press. It advocates for a legal and regulatory environment that supports the free operation of the media without censorship or undue restrictions. It ensures that there should not be restrictions or censorship on the press. Number two, capacity building and training. MISA also, as an organization, provides training and professional development opportunities to journalists and media practitioners in Malawi. It conducts, organizes, partners with other stakeholders, capacitating journalists and other media practitioners in Malawi in skills that are vital for their provision of service or for their operation. This includes workshops, seminars, educational programs that are aimed at improving journalistic skills and understanding of media ethics. So we have trainings in education programs. How should development programs be produced? How can you develop or generate content that is development oriented? How would you conduct yourself or conduct a guest if you're featuring a guest? How can you conduct an interview? What are the required election reporting ethics? Now that we are going for Masanko next year, how best as journalists should you conduct yourself? How much coverage should you give to political parties? How should you cover these political parties? How should you cover any electoral related material content? How should you influence the public into voting? All those things. So they conduct trainings, they organize trainings to capacitate journalists and media practitioners on how best they can do their work or their job. It also does research and monitoring. So MISA Malawi conducts research on media issues, trends, and challenges within the country. If there are issues related to the media that are happening in Malawi, Media Council, MISA Malawi comes in, does research and monitors that. If there are challenges that the media is facing in Malawi, it comes in, monitors, and assists in addressing the challenges. So it also monitors press freedom violations. If there are press freedom violations that are done, they have released a statement over how journalists were conducted in Branta at the DPP convention. So it condemned that. So it comes in to monitor press freedom violations. If there are violations, they come in to the aid, mediate, condemn all acts of violations to press freedom. It also documents cases of harassment. If a journalist or a media practitioner has been harassed, it documents. MISA documents all those harassment. Censorship, provides censorship, cautions its membership on the need to publish only that which is deemed fit for public consumption. If it's content that is not fit for public consumption, MISA condemns its membership and he reminds them of the duty that they have as members of the media. Attacks on journalists, it cautions government, holds government into account, holds all stakeholders into account if there are cases of violence or attacks on journalists. It also raises awareness about these issues, both locally and internationally. So it also does raise awareness on issues affecting the media, both locally and internationally. So these are the key objectives of MISA Malawi. It exists to uphold all this. Advocacy for media freedom, capacity building and training, research and monitoring. It also ensures or strives to ensure that there is public awareness and education. Because it works with its membership, it works to educate the public about their rights to access information. So for people to know about their rights to access information, whenever you want to access information about anything, that is public information, it is your right to access that information, and nobody should stand in your way, because there is a law that allows you to access such information as a Malawian citizen. So the institute works to educate the public about their rights to access information and the importance of a free and independent media in a democratic society. Monopoly of the press ended at the advent of Madibade democracy. So after Madibade democracy, we saw the coming in of so many media platforms in Malawi. So MISA Malawi makes sure that there is independence of the media. There is no interference of the media. Malawi signed for these freedoms when they ushered in the Madibade democracy in 1994. So MISA Malawi ensures that the media is independent. There is no interference, both from government or any stakeholder that would want to restrict the freedom of the press. So this includes campaigns and outreach programs that engage citizens on media-related issues. How it does public awareness and education? It does this through campaigns, outreach programs, and anything that is media-related. That is why during World Press Freedom Day celebrations, you see that MISA Malawi conducts Solidarity March, or we call Press Freedom March, every year. If there are violent acts or cases of violations against press freedom, they will go out, they will mobilize its membership, protest, speak against. If it's about an issue to do with the public that the public need to be aware of, they will organize campaigns, awareness campaigns for the public to be educated on or to be aware of. If there is information dissemination that needs to be done, they will do information dissemination for the public to know about their rights to access information, and also the need to create an enabling environment for the operation of the media without any interference. Again, National Media Institute of Southern Africa exists for policy advocacy. So MISA Malawi engages in policy dialogue with government and other stakeholders to influence the development and implementation of laws and regulations that impact the media sector. A good example is about the access to information law. So they engaged government and other stakeholders, influencing it on the need to develop and implement the access to information law in order to allow both the press and the public to be able to access public information. So it advocates for reforms that enhance transparency, accountability, and the protection of journalists. If there is a need for regulations or policies that need to be put in place that ensures transparency, accountability, and protect journalists, MISA Malawi comes in to advocate and engage all necessary stakeholders in this. Protection of journalists. The organization plays a key role in protecting journalists from threats, intimidation, and violence. If there are cases of violence, threats, intimidations, it comes in to protect, because these journalists are the one forms part and parcel of its membership. So they ensure that they are protected from intimidation, threats, and any case of violence. That is why if they will come in immediately, issue a statement, and condemn the act. So it offers support to journalists who face legal challenges, harassment, or other forms of persecution due to their work. If you are a journalist, you've been arrested, they'll come to support you when you are being taken to court or you've been taken for any legal challenge. Harassment, if you have been harassed, they'll come in to your aid. And this is only in cases where you are being persecuted due to your what? Wait, osali wakakura mowo basi akandi bulumusamisa ai. There are some cases where the journalist can be wrong. If you are found, yes, I'm a lawyer. There is a lawyer, need to make a lawyer. Miss, let me know what was Miss Azatus. Akati manga Miss Abira, and the Boma would make sure they are in good books because Misa it's powerful. Policy advocacy, it's if there are laws that need to be instituted, government they need to make those laws. Could the media freedom, they advocate for that. They are advocating that there are updated laws, archaic laws that are being used. I mean, in the present situation, they are not applicable. They are not supposed to apply. So the other offenses or rangana mama ngidwa kamina restrictions based on maamulo amina anapangidwa ntaya tamundu, and they are being used now. So they will advocate for the removal of those regulations so that new regulations are put into place. So that's policy advocacy. So advocating for media freedom is where the country, whether it's government or any others, should guarantee there is media freedom. Where Rankana is grandchildren wanda wopa or sheo. So that they advocate for press freedom. There should be freedom of the press. We as journalists should operate without fear or favor. But I'm not a pro-MCP, so I cannot write anything detrimental to MCP or to government. No. I am a journalist. There is press freedom in Malawi. I can write anything, whether pro-government or against government. So it advocates to ensure that there is press freedom, where every journalist operates without fear or favor, without intimidation, harassment, or restrictions. Government should not come in and say, you cannot say this, you cannot write this, when there is press freedom. Yeah? In as far as it's something that is fit for public consumption, as a journalist, I have to write. I have that right. The press freedom guarantees me that. Yeah. So where there are laws that are impinging the work of the media, it now advocates for review of those regulations or laws, and that's policy advocacy. Where there should be policies that are put in place that are favorable for the operation of the media or for press freedom to thrive. Ngati bai maamula amene akupinja ufulu wa Rankani, maamula amene wasinthidwe. That's policy advocacy. Koma dziko la Malawi linalandira maufulu nasankha kukhala la democracy, ndatu Rankani awene ogwira ntchito mosakondera mosayang'ana mbali. That's press freedom. Yeah? Emily. Yes. Udindo wao ndo safanana. Ntchito zawo zikhoza kufanana koma they have different jurisdictions. MISA Malawi looks at press freedom, access to information, and the like, the welfare of the general. Pamene Media Council looks at the ethics, self-regulation, self-regulation, issues to do with ethics, whilst these ones are interested in professional conduct. Ngari nkhani, conduct yourself in a profession. Mulembe nkhani mosakondera. Media Council goes beyond that. Not just kugwira ntchito mosakondera, koma even kavalidwe kanu kakhale kuyenerera, kayendedwe kanu kakhale kuyenerera, kayankhidwe kanu kakhale kuyenerera. You should self-regulation. Kumaka umazunika noka. Osamadikira kuti azibwera aboma muziro kwa plan. No. So it has the mandate. Any of these have, each of these have their mandates and they work according to their mandate. This one does much of media freedom, advocacy on policies and the like. Whilst Media Council does much of media ethics, code of conduct, self-regulation, and the like. Command they are similar. They gift. Yes. The policy document. Yeah.
So you are saying
Yes.
So is Access to Information Act the same as that one, or maybe the one in the Constitution?
Access to information is not the same as the Communications Act. This is the Communications Act. There is also Access to Information Act, which are two different documents. The omweyo ya mu constitution yomwe ya mu constitution. Mu constitution yamanena kuti every citizen has a right to access to information. Now, access to information law stipulates details about how that law is applicable. In the constitution, there is also access to this. This highlights details about how communications, anything to do with communication, is supposed to be done. So the ATI, all these organizations operate under the guidance of the Communications Act. So even the Communications Act, it's under the Constitution, because Constitution is the supreme law. So all these acts comes under the Constitution. They now explain details about sections in the Constitution, how each and every change is supposed to be done. So whether we have access to information, there is the Cyber Security Act, there is the Gender Act, there is the labor laws, the policy, the disaster management law or policy. These are policy documents that guide the operations of the media. However, all these policy documents are under the what? The Constitution. Because everyone, no one is above the law. The supreme law of the land is the Constitution. So establishment media macra was under the access to information. Now you see that's access to information. I mean the Communications Act of 1998. Yeah? This is access to Communications Act of 2016. Now MISA Malawi came in before MACRA, advocated for policy regulations favorable for media freedoms or for the work for the operation of the media. And one of those policy documents or policies are these. So the policies underwent series of, even the policy, the Communications Act of 1998, there are some laws that were not there, that needed to be there to guarantee operation of MACRA. So that's why the Communications Act had to undergo series of review and reaching to 2016, where they have this and includes the laws that are favorable and those that are not favorable were taken out. That's where that's the issue of policy advocacy comes in. Panova, if there are other things that need to be put in the Communications Act, it will still undergo review so that they produce another one, updated one, with regulations and laws that are favorable in the present circumstances. So muzamva kuti adulutsa Communications Act of 2024. So ndekuti they will leave this, will cease to be used, they will start to use the updated version. The updated versions comes because we are moving with time, right? So then there was no issues to do with the digital media or what have you, cyber security, chan. Now, because the ATI, the Communications Act of 2016, there are no stipulations about probably the cyber security laws and the like. They now come up with other policy documents to support the Communications Act or to support the Constitution. Constitution inalembedwa liti kalekale. Pali zina zimene mu Constitution mulibe mwina foya kusintha kwa mmene zinthu zikutani zikuyendera. Ya? Oyamba anthu amatha kungodzuka kalekale kunyoza president kunali mlandu. Panopa anthu amatha pakati pamatha anthu kupita pa Facebook kwayankhula kwatukwana osamangidwa. Panopa kumangidwa. Why? We have the Cyber Security Act policy document that is being used. So if the Communications Act has no stipulations on cyber security, it is the mandate of MACRA, MISA Malawi, and other policy stakeholders to come up with those regulations to govern operation of the media. Arwangani, awanga inside violence, awanga the fabricating, publishing fake news. There are a lot of fake news that are being published or broadcast. Now they want to keep that or to deal away with that. They'll come up with policy regulations on how you can publish a story online on digital platforms. So those are the policy regulations, laws and regulations that come in to support the Communications Act or the ATI. The Constitution stated about access to information, but there are other sections that it did not come out clear. Now, yes, the Constitution says there's supposed to be access to, every citizen is supposed to have access to information. So there are other sections that needed to be clarified, to be updated, or to be stated in as far as access to information is concerned. That's why now they had to come up with a policy document, a full law on access to information to beef up the Constitution. That's why we have the ATI law. Tamva? So what are the key activities of NAMISA Malawi? Number one, World Press Freedom Day celebrations. It is the Miss Malawi that organizes the World Press Freedom Day. Every year on 3rd May, we have its World Press Freedom Day. And we normally have World Press Freedom Day celebrations. So Miss Malawi organizes the World Press Freedom Day celebrations. And these events or celebrations are events and activities to commemorate World Press Freedom Day. Tsiku la Lwankani. Limene limakhala tsiku Christmas ya Lwankani. Timapita chaka chino ndali kumangochi. Ndekuti chaka chamawa, I think kulilongwe. So they do this in regions. This year kulilongwe, next year Zuzu, the other year Blantyre, the other year Mangochi, the eastern region. So the World Press Freedom Day commemoration activities highlight the importance of press freedoms and drawing attention to the challenges faced by the media in Malawi. It brings to the limelight the challenges that the media face in Malawi. Komanso spearhead the upholding of media freedoms. Number two, it conducts annual media awards. So during these Press Freedom Day celebrations, we also have annual media awards. In fact, Zodiac yakha number one radio station. Nation, I sang number the number one printing media house. Those are the annual media awards. So the institute may also be involved in recognizing and awarding excellence in journalism through annual media awards, which celebrate outstanding reporting and media practices. One of these days, Tizawana Ninoyo Aukapats an award for your outstanding work as a journalist or a media practitioner. Number three, press freedom reports. Miss Malawi also contributes to regional and international reports on the state of the press freedom, providing data and insights on the conditions under which the media operates in Malawi. So what are the recent areas that Miss Malawi has focused on? Number one, digital media and online safety. It has vested much of its attention to digital media and online safety as a result of growing importance of digital media. So, Miss Malawi has been focusing on issues related to online journalism, including the safety of journalists operates in digital spaces and combating misinformation. With the coming in of COVID-19, there was a lot of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. What's the difference between misinformation and disinformation? Dave, what's the difference between misinformation and disinformation?
Misinformation is like giving possible.
Okay. Disinformation.
But I think it's giving inadequate
information. Okay. Yeah. So there has been a lot of misinformation where you give wrong information. People were being given wrong information about COVID-19. That's misinformation, right? Because it was a disease for everyone. That's misinformation. So there were a lot of misinformation going on with COVID-19. Disinformation, lack of information. And who were going my social media, digital spaces, saying all sorts of things about the disease when they have little information about the disease. There was disinformation about the disease. Instead of leaving it to the health authorities, those that are all trained, they are experts in that. There were so many analyses on the COVID-19, as if people are now medical practitioners, giving in to disinformation. So that resulted in so many theories, reactions, about the disease from the public, especially the rural population. As a result, when now government came in to introduce